Good morning and welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. We got Justin Wells with us, and we are about to have a special guest in just a couple of minutes. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and knock out the ad read before we get to our special guest. Justin, I went through some of my prize picks yesterday, and a lot of my more or lesses are seasons and also stuff for this weekend, but it's also NFL weekend, so now is a great time to head to Prize Picks. One of the things they're running is if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. Don't even need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Use the promo code Inside Texas. Something like one Caleb Williams passing yard will get you one win on Prize Pick every week in September. Just 1 yard. So if you want to get 4 weeks of free W's, use this deal on Prize Picks. So go to Prize Picks or use the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Inside Texas, and that is the best way to get $50 instantly once you play $5. Of course, our special guest today, we can see him backstage as he's getting his video set up. We have lifetime Longhorn, national champion, and one of the first players I really remember when I was growing up as a kid and watching the Longhorns, and that is running back Selvin Young, trying to get his video set up, but we will have Selvin in just a second. One of my earliest Texas memories, and I'm curious if Selvin remembers this one as well. There was a hurricane in New Orleans, I think, in 2003, and Texas flew in to New Orleans right after it made landfall to play Tulane. And I think that was a game Chris Sims was playing. Maybe it was 2002. I'm not sure.
It was 2003.
It was 03?
No. It was 02. It was 02. And Sims was playing.
Right. So I think, if I remember right, I was in one of the corners of the Superdome, and Selvin brings that punt back right there straight to me. And my mom had gone to like the UT garage sale and gotten a number 3 jersey. So I was looking like, hey, I got it. So
Hey.
We may have to work through some of the video issues, but Selvin, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can see you. I'm not sure if you can see me or not. Not sure what's going on there.
That's all good. Well, this works too. We're glad that you're joining us, and thank you so much for taking the time. We won't try to keep you too long, but thinking back, I guess, do you remember that punt return that I was bringing up? And,
yeah, most definitely. That was Nathan Vasher was out that game, and so me and Dakari Pearson was up on deck, and I remember Coach Aquino all week long. He was saying, "You're gonna get your shot," and I couldn't wait to get it.
You ran straight at me in that game. So obviously Texas has a big matchup with Michigan this week. You were on a bunch of different they're both those Rose Bowl teams. I know 04 was a season that you got cut short by injury, but what do you remember not only about that Rose Bowl experience, about Mack Brown politicking? Your old teammate Drew Kelson talked about that, but that whole experience heading to the Rose Bowl and getting to play another team like Michigan.
You know, it was exciting. We watched Michigan all year. Braylon Edwards was a beast out there at receiver. I just remember going into that game, our defense, Huff and Michael Griffin, they just took the challenge. Like they was going to make sure that those guys didn't beat them, from the receiver standpoint. And, all week long, actually all year long, Vince being my roommate and everything like that, we got a chance to talk a lot about, that big game. And we wanted to go to the national championship that year. And Vince always messed with me, said if I didn't get hurt, we'd have had two national championships. And, I kind of remember that. I remember vividly after that game, we won. Everyone is still on the field when Mango made that kick. And I just found myself at the 50-yard line. I just got out on my knees and prayed to do anything possible to be able to play on that field again that next year. And I remember that game vividly.
Well, go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say, Selvin, you were number 3 for the first, few seasons in Austin. Then you changed to number 22. What was the reasoning behind going with number 22?
I don't, talk about that much, but I have a counselor, Miss Jean Bryant. Right after that game, she let me know that I didn't do everything that I needed to do academically to be able to be eligible for that fall season. And throughout my life, in Houston, I grew up in pretty different neighborhoods. We moved schools a lot. We transferred a lot. I mean, every Christmas and fall, I was in a new school. So by the time I got to Texas, I was at about 17 or 18 schools. And so after that game, that summer, I had to basically go and earn my right to get back on the campus. And so I took summer school at different community colleges, and then and actually go with 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I mean, so many different campuses. I mean, she found me classes that would transfer over that whole summer. And so I got to counting how many schools that I actually ever attended in my entire life, and it came out to 22. And so I felt like, that was going to be the last time I ever let myself down and let, my family down. And I went and made straight A's that whole summer. And I got back into school, and I made the dean's list, and I made straight A's again that fall. And that's the same time we went and won a national championship. So that's where the 22 comes from. I was 22 different schools I went my entire life.
That's awesome. Obviously, Texas, there's some correlation between, I think, 2004 Texas and 2023 Texas. They had a big season, come up just short in the Big 12 title. In your season in 2004, Texas wins it this time. They go to a big bowl game. Obviously, y'all win a BCS Bowl and the Rose Bowl. Texas goes to the playoff. What were some of the things that your team did in between that 04 and 05 season that you've kind of seen Texas this year do as well?
Well, one thing I seen, we had a lot of guys that was, on that team when, Chris Sims and BJ Johnson and a lot of those guys went and played, in that Big 12 championship game. I mean, they really felt like that year that they could have, went on to play in a championship. And one thing that they really got on us about was what they didn't do that summer. They didn't really work out together as a team. Chris Sims was a great leader, but a lot of guys, some would show, some wouldn't. And a lot of that resonated with Vince, and there was a big movement by Major Applewhite. It seems like he just came back out of nowhere and was that entire summer working with Vince. And so a lot of the guys, we all respected and looked up to Applewhite, a former player. So I do believe that summer it was a lot of former players who was just pushing us and was kind of speaking to their experience and how they felt short and how they felt like, hey, we have the opportunity to take it to the next level. So I remember that summer. I mean, no one missed a workout, not one. Everyone showed up. I mean, we got a lot of work in, and we kind of just grew as a team. We bonded, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we would go eat the dinner together. It was more the things that we done together because we felt like we had the team, to go out and win. And, it kind of resonated and transferred over to the field that season.
Selvin, when you win a national title, you're a champion for life. That's the way this works. That's the way sports works. And doing that in Texas, first time in 35 years in 2005, it meant so much. And did you guys realize just how big it was going to be? Like, I think everyone understood it's a big, big deal. But even Mack Brown mentioned afterwards just how he almost had like a 6-month hangover after that game just because of all the dinners, all the glad handing, all the, slapping your back, giving you hugs, free drinks. Did you understand at that? I mean, how long did it take you to realize just what you guys had accomplished and how large it was on a bigger scale?
Beating, USC, we watched those guys, win back-to-back titles. And so we watched how people paraded them around, even in our face going up to that game. They really let us know that, hey, you won a championship. And so we think that you're the best thing going. And so we kind of took that as a chip on our shoulder. And, believe it or not, we felt like if we play our game and play together, we would be able to beat those guys and become champions. And, we actually designed our national championship ring before the end of the season. We even, made Mad Dog make sure that we can have one that we designed for ourselves because, there was one that they give us and we designed our own. So we got 2 rings, one from the team and one for ourselves. So we really believed that we were going to be champions. And to, still to this day, I'm still realizing how big that win was. We still travel around. I walked through, tailgates the other day, and I wore my ring, and I just had a flashback moment, and people I don't even know, never even met. I mean, they're just just grabbing and reaching, and hey, come to our tailgate and hang out. I was looking for a buddy of mine, and I end up eating food at every tailgate around there, and all of them is, hey, you're a lifetime Longhorn, and this is my kid. They wasn't born yet, but I always talk to them about that team, and just still seeing kids now that were 5 and 6 year old that are in college now that still remember that game and talks to us about it. I mean, it was a big deal. Mac did a great job after the game, just reminding us, hey, this is a big thing. But there's going to be other things in your life that you're going to do that's going to, you're going to be accomplished. You're going to be fathers. You're going to be great citizens and provide, assets of community. And so, we kept that, but, we still remember how big that was. I felt like we did it for Texas. We did it for a lot of people across the world that are from Texas and went to Texas. And so it's something that we're going to have forever.
Selvin, last thing I've got before we get you out of here. Thank you so much for joining us. Just what are your thoughts on this upcoming game against Michigan and your excitement level for it?
You know what? I feel like we're deep. We're 2 and 3 deep at positions, and I think that's what it takes to win a championship. I really love Coach Sark's demeanor and his mind state. He's really holding guys to the business. It's getting to the business. Hey, it's believing in yourself. It's being tough. That's just the mind state that I think our guys are coming into this game with. They're becoming a mirror reflection of their coach, and I really love it. So, on the field, I'm looking forward to those guys executing the way that that they're training every day in practice and being prepared. Quinn's a general now. He's earned the right to lead this team, and I'm looking forward to him making the right reads and right throws and putting his feet in the right place to throw the ball in the right place and and guys coming down with the ball and defense rallying around everyone. I like to see, 10, 11 guys on the ball like I saw last week. These guys are going to be bigger, stronger, and faster. So, just doing what you do best, I think will put us in a place to win.
Selvin, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on. And hopefully we get to do this again sometime. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate it. Hook 'em horns.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Selvin. Appreciate that a lot. That was a great interview. I never heard that 22 story, and I think that's a story that I think a lot of people maybe not have heard either. Justin, sounds like you had
I had a good friend that he played high school football with that also played at Texas, a punter named Justin Moore. And so Justin was very familiar with Selvin and kind of mentioned it to me before, and I'd never really said anything to anybody. I wanted Selvin to tell it. And so I'm so glad he did. And I love the way he did. I'm so thankful that he came on because like I said, it's the stories under the stories. It's the things that we don't see on the surface that we love telling, and things like going to 22 different campuses. Those numbers mean stuff to people sometimes. Sports and numbers are a big deal, Joe. You and I both know that. And so sometimes there's just these really unique stories that surround why a certain player wears a certain number. And so with Selvin, I thought that was just good stuff.
Before we keep on going, I know we've got obviously some college football getting going this weekend. Texas this weekend. But Justin, I'm going to throw this your way real quick just to give some love to our buddy UT Parking. Should he start Worthy or Zamir White?
Okay. UT Parking. I have Worthy on my fantasy team as well. He's on my bench right now because I want to see the first few weeks of the season. I want to see it. I don't think he's going to boom early. Now, granted, he might go. They play tonight, right? I think the NFL season starts tonight. Right. So, of course, he's going to go off and score 2 touchdowns in his first game. But I just don't – I don't see that happening early on, especially with the Ravens defense. I do think give him a couple weeks to see how he assimilates to the NFL because that's a little risky playing a first-year guy in his first game. So I would probably bench Xavier for the first few weeks just to kind of see. I like Zamir White at flex. I actually do like him. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. And so give Worthy a few weeks.
I'm with that as well. Really excited to see that come back and also to see the Longhorns in the NFL. We have about 10 more this year to keep track of. Question from Anthony. Of course, get your questions in. We'll go through them during the show. But Anthony asks, how do you feel about this Texas defense coming into this Saturday? I feel like the media is sleeping. I think that's probably an accurate estimation. Everybody kind of thinks this Michigan O-line is just going to keep on humming and that the Texas D-line without Murphy and Sweat is not as strong as it was. But I think people are underselling what Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, even Bill Norton might be able to do against an O-line that's still putting some things together.
I mean, it's the same narrative that, how is Michigan going to recoup on offense after losing 11 starters off last year's team? I think it's the same kind of mindset. Well, how do you recover when you lose such a strong core? For Texas, that D-line, interior D-line was the core of the team last year. For Michigan, that those, 9 or 10 fifth-year seniors across the O-line and tight ends and offense were their core in a sense. And so, look, Texas I feel like they've been working on this all summer and a little bit each day, just about run fits and how important it is with Michigan because of their style and the way they do run their offense. And so I don't think the media is necessarily sleeping on Texas because I do think there's some apprehension with quarterback, with Davis Warren and with Alex Orji. But hey, you lose Tavondre, you lose Murphy. Well, that's like 900 pounds of All-American. And so that's a lot of beef. But let me tell you, while Bill Norton, they brought him over from the Wild Wild West just for this game. This is a game that I think Bill Norton was made for. Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. Broughton was so active last week. If there's one thing I noticed about him was that there was an extra gear there with Broughton. And we've seen that with these defensive linemen as they develop over the last few years. And so give Texas defense their love. I think honestly, the premier matchup, we talked about it last night, is the Texas O-line and the Michigan D-line. To me, that's like great on great. But the other one, I think Texas has the advantage, even after losing those guys, because we've seen more activity from the edge spots. We saw Barron Sorrell doing what he does, just Mr. Consistency. Texas defense is going to be just fine, and I think Michigan might be a nice little test on just fundamentals.
One of the big offseason storylines was about run fits, and whether that be Johnny Nansen helping the safeties in the secondary and the linebackers improve in that area. Now I'm kind of starting to put 2 and 2 together like UT Parking has, like with so much of an emphasis on run fits, and even Steve Sarkisian brought this up. They were probably doing a little bit of unknown preparation for Michigan. Like, hey, you're going to have this many gaps. You're going to have this much to cover. Where do you go? Yeah. This is it. The picture is finally being painted here, and I think the players are starting to realize as well that, hey, those run fits. This is your opportunity. Part of that is Trey Moore. Trey Moore is about to put the SEC on notice with his game on Saturday. I know we got a lot of questions about the idea, like, where was Trey Moore? Where was the entire D-line? No sacks. Like, 1, 2, ball was out by that point on Saturday.
Jay Norvell was not going to let Texas tee off on his quarterback, and they still got pressure on him.
Exactly. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for Texas to get after the passer. I think Michigan, those opportunities are going to exist. You spoke a lot last night about how Davis Warren has been kind of throwing off his back foot. that's an offense that really tries to set up the capability to throw deep passes based off their run game, trying to get safeties to cheat up. Michigan's wide receiver core is not the quality of Texas, but still scheming, and Sharon Moore is good at that. This is going to mean there are opportunities for Trey Moore, Barron Sorrell, especially rushing the passer this Saturday that they did not have over the course of the Colorado State game. This one from our buddy Corey. It's Niblack time. I'm really curious to see what happens. I feel like teams understand that Gunnar Helm's a threat these days, but I think the way Niblack will impact this game is if he has a quality game blocking, then that's going to bode really well for the Longhorns. I think one reception, but if he can be a quality, if he can be a quality extra blocker, then I think that's going to open up a lot of different things for the Texas defense.
Yeah, no question. Niblack can be an X factor in some sorts, and I'll tell you why. Michigan, when they're scheming against this offense right now, they know they're trying to pick their words. They know what Quinn can do, and even with the running backs they lost, the Texas still has a good stable back there. They understand what's at hand. Niblack might be the one guy they're not paying the most attention to. If you've got a NASCAR wide receiver room and those guys are all going crazy, like those are the ones I think they would focus more on. Obviously, you're going to have a linebacker or a safety over the top, but Niblack is a guy that I think could be sneaky in this game. He's one that I think there's going to be so much focus on Quinn. There's going to be some focus on the tailbacks, but really on those receivers as well, trying to stay in front of them. Niblack's going to be able to sneak off on a few things. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he catches a big pass and a big play maybe early in the second half that had been set up with plays earlier in the first half, because that's how Sark kind of does it.
One thing that we didn't see at all on Saturday against Colorado State is the Big 12 package, where they bring in that sixth O lineman.
The jumbo, yeah.
Last year it was Malik Ogbo. I'm not sure if it's still the same, and I don't think we saw it maybe for more than a play. If you're over on Inside Texas, which if you want to go ahead and join, make sure you use the promo code HOOK'em. You can get some great insight, and we have a former high school coach, Mike Venable, who does a great post-game wrap on Sunday morning. And he asked, who is that new guy? I think he noticed that maybe Jaden Chapman was wearing a different number.
He's athletic. Remember, Jaden was a basketball player. His little brother, Evan, is a great basketball player. Jaden Chapman's got the athleticism in the feet to pull this off, if that's the case.
So I'm very curious who ends up as that big extra tight end when they do that, because it's something they kept the powder dry on last week, and maybe they think that they can find something there. I talked about Michigan creating extra gaps in the run game, so maybe Texas tries to do that as well when looking at the run game there as well. Justin, I'm going to throw this one to you from Chris Bennett. Is it good that they're getting Michigan early like they got Bama early?
Yes, and yes. If you learned anything about last year, was that Texas kind of exposed Jalen Milroe's shortcomings. And what it did was it essentially showed Jalen Milroe what he had to do to become a more complete quarterback. And he did that a couple weeks later. It took him a while, but once by the end of the season, I think Milroe was a much better quarterback. And it's because Texas got them early. Same rules with Michigan. Davis Warren right now, I watched the Fresno State game. He was struggling a little bit. He throws off that back foot quite a bit, and those are passes that Texas guys will literally devour. And so I think this is a great question, and I think it's absolutely true. Getting a team like that early, especially a team that just lost a ton off the team before, and they've got an identity, but they don't really have an identity yet for 2024. And so when they're still trying to figure that out, that's when Texas is licking their chops. That's when it's like, okay, it's time to eat. And I think getting these guys early, getting these games early, huge.
One of the other things, this correlates to that, 13 draftees, 6 undrafted free agents. I mean, Texas had, 11?
12 total.
12 total. They had some undrafted free agents.
Right.
These are the types of games that it may take some time for, like you mentioned, it took Milroe a little bit to get going. And once he did, Bama won the SEC, made the playoff, was a play away
Yes.
from beating this team. It's these types of early season matchups, especially when you think about on Michigan, their O-line, quality recruiting, quality development, but still, this is their second game together after they lost a lot of pros from that O-line last year. So the team that that Texas faces on Saturday may look different than the team Texas is later in the year, and the Michigan team that maybe goes into the Big House or into the shoe later this year. So I like this. I like week 2 better than week 1. And I know Texas, but oddly enough, they play Ohio State in week 1 next year. But
I know.
I think
the quarterback situation there, I mean, it's going to be, I can't wait to see kind of how that, because Texas knows who they're going to be throwing out there. Ohio State, are we going back? Are we going to the Devin Brown, number 33 factor? What's going to go on there? I think that could also benefit UT.
I bet it's Julian saying, but that's looking way ahead. But yeah,
it's going to have to be saying if it's not Brown.
This is one of those things where these teams, and especially in the portal era, I don't know how much Michigan portaled. Obviously, Texas went to the well for wide receivers. They didn't go there for like major infrastructure positions.
No, they went there for DBs.
Right. Excuse me. So I think that, an O-line needs to gel. And Texas has 4 returning starters and a 5th guy with a lot of experience. Michigan's quality, but at the same time, it's even in week 2 as opposed to week 1, they haven't figured everything about themselves out. They haven't figured out everything yet about their own team.
Did you see who's back in the chat?
Our buddy from
Hey, Les, we loved you last night. We love it when Michigan guys and other teams' fans come in and interact. Buddy, that's what sports is about, the debate, the camaraderie. We're glad to have you back, Les. You did mention something last night about dancing with the stars or dancing on something. I missed that. I wanted to ask you about it. But, hey, look, even if you make it on Dancing with the Stars with Chad Henne and all those guys, listen, thank you for joining us, bud. We love the back and forth, and we know Michigan is going to come ready to fist fight. It's going to be a battle in Ann Arbor. Don't get it twisted.
Before we keep on going, got to give some love to our sponsor, and that is Andre the Lawyer. So with that, here's our buddy LC.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
And of course, if you have not done so already, head to Inside Texas. Promo code HOOK'em gets you 50% off using our flash sale. Not something that's going to be around very long, so make sure you head there. Give us a look. You're going to love an annual membership, 50% off. And of course, if you're already watching, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Oh man, there's some good comments in here. But I'm going to go through this one. Scott in Texas. How will the Texas D handle Loveland? That's kind of the big question. And I think it's going to take it's going to take a few people on that Texas defense to make sure that the tight end does not really affect the Longhorns on the scoreboard.
This is where we're going to see linebacker play at that first level, DB play at that next level. There's going to have to be a not so much a yo-yo system, but they're going to have to communicate big time. But trust me, that's the guy that they've been talking about. And look, I feel like they probably have a couple other tight ends who you just don't know about yet that are in the development stages as well. But this is their number one target, and I guarantee you Sark has a bullseye on this guy. He's going to have – I feel like he's going to have one of those safeties ball, just kind of paying attention to him at all times. That's their mismatch. And so it would only make sense if they were to, because I mean, that was their main target last week. And I feel like that's probably going to be their main offensive guy moving it forward in 2024.
Got this one from Jesse Ullman. Says Quinn will have chances to run. He needs to make them account for him running. This is not a game where I'm testing Quinn on the ground. I think you steal yards. I think he did that at Alabama last year. But Steve Sarkisian wants his quarterbacks to be protected enough to hit long passes. He calls them the passer. I'm all for stealing yards. I would not call a single design run. I would also – I'm not sure if I want Arch Manning's like big game debut to be – I mean, it'd be fun, don't get me wrong. But like at Michigan, that's a tough idea to wrap my brain around. So
you don't take the bubble wrap off just yet for that. We can still preserve that a little bit. We don't want to run Quinn. Do I need to remind you about 2013 BYU? Don't run the quarterback in a situation where those big D linemen and linebackers are grown men. Don't do that. David Ash had a hard night that night. Remember, you don't want to do that again.
Yeah, this is not in this offense. That's why you saw Savion Red do it last year, because they didn't want Quinn doing it.
And do it well.
Yeah,
and he's in Nevada doing a good job, man. Happy for Savion.
Going to keep going. Got one from David Keith Williams. Thank you as always for showing up. If Texas gets 2 interceptions each game, I would not mind the defense not getting any sacks. Sacks lead to punts. Interceptions lead our turnovers. Yeah, I mean, you hear Steve Sarkisian talk about the ball. Getting pressure on the quarterback's nice, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you get that football, no matter how it happens. And if Texas is picking off either Davis Warren or Alex Orji, then that's going to bode well, because I think Michigan is they'll be able to sustain a few drives.
Yes.
Are they going to punch it into the end zone? That's the big question. Yes. Because I think Texas is going to do as much as it possibly can to prevent an explosive run. They need to, because I think that's the only way that Michigan gets the points on the board. I think Texas can bow up in the red zone. I think they've done that before. And I think they can do it against this Michigan team. But they can't give up explosive plays. And, the fastest way to prevent explosive plays is to just get the dang ball back. Thoughts?
Our boy David Williams always brings the good stuff. I love the interaction with him. He nailed this. This is really a good little, a good call. And then the next one, he tells us that Quinn Ewers is not an athletic quarterback. I got to do it again, Joe. Just give me a second. Quinn Ewers is an athlete. I don't know why people don't – just because he has the golden arm that they think that he's not an athlete. Quinn Ewers is an athlete. He was dunking as a sophomore in high school. He could hit the goalpost with his head, flat foot jumping. Quinn Ewers is an athlete. He's what I call a sneaky. He's deceptive. He's more inclined to stay in the pocket and make reads because he knows his arm is the ticket to the NFL and not running with the football. But he can scoot when he needs to. Is he Sam Ehlinger, who's going to tuck it and extend the drive, make those get those first downs on thirds? No, that's not his style or his forte. But he can scoot when he needs to. And when those big linemen are a little bit bigger and they're coming down, he runs a little bit faster. So don't get it twisted. Quinn Ewers has some athleticism, and we're going to see more of that in next April when he's in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine. Quinn is a sneaky athlete. We got to get rid of that narrative.
Anthony, I think this is the one you wanted as a super chat.
Yeah.
So let me know if I missed that one. What's the situation with commits Texas is battling with Florida State for? Is Javian Hilson still in contact? So that's Hilson, Myron Charles, and Kevin Wynn, correct?
Yes. Myron Charles, Texas is on his heels trying to make that happen. There's some definite direction going in that one. And so Myron Charles is the one that I would probably pay the most attention to. Kevin Wynn, Kenny Baker's still talking to him on a regular basis. That's another one I would pay attention to, even though I think Charles is one that may be a little bit more important. And then with Javian Hilson, listen, he's still in contact with Texas and a number of schools. And so they're already so good at edge right now. And I'm not saying they wouldn't take him, but when you have a Smith Arago and a Lance Jackson, there are other spots left in this 2025 cycle that may be a little bit more pertinent at this time. But Hilson's a take no matter what. He's also talking to a number of other schools as well. FSU's ship is sinking quicker than we thought. It's sinking like Florida's is sinking, but they got a head start. It seemed like a week ahead. But some of those guys are going to be flipping over the next 3 weeks to a month. I think Texas and Myron Charles make a lot of sense.
I think that does as well. Trying to go through some more comments that we have. Bobby Petronic, been on this channel a lot. Thank you. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback, has a rebuilt O-line. Their wide receivers are Jags. The only way they scored 21 is with 7 coming from their defense or special teams. Kind of in the same way, you can't allow explosive plays. You can't give up plays in, throw the ball, throw pick sixes, or give up a punt return. Texas has been pretty good at that. But here's the thing, Justin. There's a freshman punter taking the field for Texas this week.
Yes, Michael Kern from the Kern family in South Florida. Because nobody thinks South Florida until they think punter. But Michael Kern is that guy, and Joe, you're the punting specialist. You're the guy that we lean on for special teams coordination at InsideTexas.com. And so, that could be a factor. He didn't get one off Monday, did he? Or last week, did he?
Just one, and it was he couldn't tell anything.
You could, hey, and listen, if we're not talking about the punter, that's a good thing. Usually, unless you're mentioning pinning it in the 20, that's usually good. But yeah, hey, listen, no one talks about that, but that could be a factor. In 1999, Matt Brown didn't have special teams buttoned up just the way they should. A true freshman, Corey Redding, I believe, was one of the outside blockers, and NC State blocked 2 punts in that game, and that's the reason Texas lost. So that's something. It's all that third phase is a big factor, and don't think Jeff Banks isn't standing up in that room every single day, letting people know we're going to work on special teams as well. Who's in for special teams? Who's my gunner? Who's my kamikaze? They'll have that covered, but I think Michael Kern, this will be a baptizing by fire.
This is a game where, this is where Jeff Banks has to show, and Michael Kern as well. But I mean, the decision not to take a scholarship punter out of the portal, it helped Texas so much last year. They have a lot of faith in Kern, and if you watch his tape, it's good tape for a punter, and he's got the boot. But 110,000 people is 110,000 people is 110,000 people. And I know he had a friendly 99 on his side, but he's going to have an unfriendly, I don't know, maybe 99 on the other side of this upcoming game. I have no lack of faith in Bert Auburn. You saw him nail one from 45 with relative ease right down the middle.
Show Bob. He's been there. Ice water in the veins. Hey, dude. Bert Auburn is the one guy we're not worried about.
Exactly. And also one other credit to Kern. Good hold. And he had 7 extra points to hold for, too. No issue.
Every bit counts, Joe. That's why you're the man. Everything, all the details, they count.
And I have a lot of faith in Jeff Banks in that. Jeff Banks, excuse me. AJJ, we're going to see the Johnny Nansen influence in this game. A lot of single high safety. Probably move Derek Williams into the box. I think you may see Michael Taft a little bit more in the box. Texas moves its safeties around so much, you'll see a good split. But they had, I think the starters were Mercuba in Taft, and Taft is at that boundary role. That has him rotating down. And although Michael Taft doesn't have the weight that you may want from a boundary safety, he has the know-how, and he knows how to be at the right spot. And that's been extremely valuable for the Texas defense, and was so this past week. Michael Taft had one of the better games of anybody on that defense, even with the interception from Barron and the interception from Wardell Mack. He had a great game, being in the right spot, and I think Texas will need him to be able to hold up for 4 quarters against a running offense. But he showed he was able to do it against a passing offense that really tested them out a ton over last Saturday.
Yeah, listen, there's still a small contingent of Texas fans that aren't completely bought in to Michael Taaffe, and that's okay. But really, you got to take the blinders off. You got to watch this kid's maturation over the last few years. We talked to somebody last night. Nobody studies like Taaffe. And it makes sense that he's in every spot, the right angle at the right time, 2 steps ahead, which he needs to be. You know, he doesn't have the ultra athleticism of a Derek Williams, of an Andrew Makuba, a Jelani McDonald. But my goodness, people don't understand. It takes brains. And Michael Taaffe has those. That's a 5-star head for Mookie right there. Michael Taaffe is a hell of a football player. And if you want any proof, look at Steve Sarkisian. Do you trust how he's building this program? Do you trust how he's doing these works in Austin right now within the football facility? He loves Michael Taaffe. Taaffe is one of the leaders of the team. I'm going to trust Sark on that one. They knew they found a diamond in the rough when they brought him on as a preferred walk-on. Michael Taaffe is earned that right to play on the field. And number one, the respect of those guys in the locker room. That's about as big as it gets, Joe.
I like that one a lot. And also, as somebody mentioned, let me see, Texcalibur has the turnover sword, and I know they're going to want to try to fill that up on Saturday. Somebody's not familiar with Texas A&M from up in Michigan when they're asking this, so thank you, Les. Why does A&M have male cheerleaders? Do some research on Texas A&M. That's not the only thing that's weird.
Because the pretty girls go to Texas. We've always known that. They learned that in College Station a long time ago. All the pretty girls go to Texas. So the next group that they had to choose from were the men.
Going to keep on going. Drew Lockhart, you think Michigan will have a package for Orji and running the ball? Thanks, guys. I think obviously yes.
Yes.
The thing is, they didn't deploy him that much. I think he only played 9 true offensive snaps. Was 1 for 2 passing, had a touchdown pass, had, I think, 26 yards rushing or something like that. I bet they kept that powder dry big time, just as Texas did with some of their defensive stuff. So I'm pretty curious to see how often they deploy that, because if they deploy it early and it works, I bet they go back to it. They deploy it early and it doesn't work, and I think Michigan's going to be wondering, okay, what can we find that is effective?
Yeah, Orji, to me, we talked about it. I see some Jalen Milroe attributes there. Obviously, Milroe a little bit more developed and more athletic, but Orji he's a load. That guy, once he breaks contain, I think he's almost like a big running back, and I think he's got some playmaker ability to him. But I feel like Texas will be ready for that. It's if they're going to let him open it up, if they're going to let him try to throw the ball down the field. Remember what E.J. Holland told us. Alex Orji had from last January to last of August to win that starting job at Michigan, and he didn't. And that was the expectation kind of going into 2024, is that he was going to take that. And so, honestly, I think the lack of them using Orji, it almost a detriment, because Davis Warren does some good things as well. But as we saw in the Fresno State game, I think that he was having a difficult time in the first 3 quarters. He was constantly throwing off his back foot. Fresno State's front was getting a lot of pressure on that O-line for Michigan. And so, to me, the offset there is Orji. If you're getting too much pressure from that D-line, bring in a quarterback that can kind of neutralize that. And so I'm curious to see how they're going to use him. Maybe we didn't see him as much Saturday because we're going to see him more this Saturday. It all depends on my Sharon Moore and how he figures that out.
Tom Carr, who I think is joining us from up in Michigan as well. Orji's 6'3", 235, and Mullins is
that's his brother's size too. All his brothers were D1 linebackers at that side. Austin Orji, Anthony Orji, they were all big boys. But Alex decided, I'm going to play quarterback. Well, guess what? You may make it to the league, and you could be a damn good third down running back.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of what's that tight end who ended up becoming the running back for West Virginia and helped the Mountaineers last year to a really good season. I don't know his name off the top of my head. That's what he reminds me of. Yeah. But they put the ball in his hands to throw the football. Who calls plays for offense and defense for Michigan? Sharon Moore's the play caller. Wink Martindale is the defensive play caller. Somebody posted in the chat that Sarkisian and Martindale have gone against each other in the NFL. It didn't go well for Sark. It was, I don't think it was the big Matt Ryan year. I think that came off. And again, Kirk Campbell on offense. But I'm sure Sharon Moore has a big influence. Different though, Sark calls the plays and is the head coach for Texas. So they're in lockstep in what they want to do. So this one's going to be really fun to watch. Justin, I think it is time to get to our picks. Last week, I said Texas minus 32.5. You said Colorado State plus 32.5 to cover. Did not happen. So I am 1-0. You are 0-1. The line has even moved since last night. Texas is now getting 7.5 against Michigan in the Big House. And we went in on this one last night, but not asking you to pick your score quite yet, but I'm asking, do you think Texas can cover 7.5?
It's funny. My prediction score I had to give to LC earlier today for our roundtable. And so, I'm going to give it away right now just so I'm consistent. But I've got Texas winning 23 to 16. That's a 7-pointer. So it's going to be close. It could push one way or the other. I'm leaning. I don't want to go 0-2 against you. Oh, God dang. I think Texas covers. Barely. If it's 8 or 9, maybe. I don't think it's a double-digit win. But I got to say Texas covers. I'm not taking it on the chin like I did last week.
I'll go 31-20. I think it'll be something like that. I can see those types of scores. That's 2 touchdowns for Michigan and 2 field goals. It's 4 touchdowns for Texas. And then what would that be? 1 field goal like that. That makes sense. And this is going to be a game where there's not a lot of possessions. I think if Michigan has its way running the ball like they'd like to, they're going to go ahead and shorten the game. And I don't say that as like a fear thing. It's like if they can drives and put it in the end zone and then limit the opportunities Texas has with the football. I mean, that's playing right into their hands. That's how they want to win. So I'm looking forward to this. Going to keep going through a few more score predictions.
I'm with Matt here. I don't think it's high scoring. I think this is a low scoring game. People don't go into the Big House and run up the scoreboard. It just doesn't happen. Michigan, like you said, they're going to take the air out of the ball. They're going to call plays down to the last few seconds on offense. They're gonna be methodical and try to control the tempo. I think that's why I've got it 23-16 or 23-16 because I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's a 1 possession going into the fourth quarter, and to me, that's going to make it even more exciting.
With that, make sure you head to Inside Texas. Use the promo code HOOK'em, get 50% off an annual membership. And also, if you're here, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for watching this. We will see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.